Good evening and welcome to this edition of the Island Stat Sports Show. I'm your host, Earl Baston. Joining me is co-host Jason Juglin J. Ford. And tonight we have with us the national swimming coach, Ben Smith. Good evening, all. Well, Ben, right off the bat, the Carifta Swimming Championship team was named earlier this week,
earlier this week.
Yes. With some, 12 athletes?
12 athletes.
Yeah, heading down to the championships. First time in person for 2 years, is it? 3 years?
Yeah, it's been 2 years. So the last time that we were able to attend Carifta was in 2019. So it's pretty exciting.
That was the year that we had some remarkable performances, wasn't it?
Yeah. Most definitely. So the last time we were there, we had some amazing performances, and we've had 2 years where we were not able to select a team or to be able to participate. So it was really exciting going through the process. And I know that the kids that have been selected are really excited.
Yeah. Well, first of all, let's name off the team that will represent Bermuda.
Yeah, so there are 12 swimmers that will be attending, and they will. Let me just make sure, because I don't want to mess up any names. I don't want any moms calling me. So Brandon Atkins, Elijah Daley, Bella Howes, Marley Howes, Emmerton Judd, Finn Mosley, Arabella Newport Derbyshire, Maisha Sharif, Violet Smith, Flynn Watson Brown, Taylor White, and Sam Williamson. Those are the swimmers that will make up the team for this year.
And that's the team there.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And what we plan to do tonight, Jason, we're going to go through the athletes and look at what disciplines they will compete in, and the potential, because what we want to do is highlight these athletes as just giving them the inspiration to want to represent the country. I want to do well and show some support to them, that they don't normally get. And that's why I contacted Ben to make sure that we highlighted these athletes and we make sure that, they get the deserved, contribution prior to the event, because, they're going to represent us. Yeah.
Yeah, the first thing I'd like to say is that the difficulty in missing Carifta for 2 years is that there were several athletes that would have been able to participate over the last 2 years that did not get that opportunity. Because if you were a 15, 16-year-old, and in those 2 years past, now you've aged out of the competition and you were not able to attend. On top of that, we've actually had some athletes that would have participated in the 11 and 12 age group, but missed both years, and now will be going as 13-year-olds. So it's just interesting what that looks like. What I always like to say is that when we go to Carifta, that first experience at Carifta is a game changer for them, right? The atmosphere of the event, being able to participate for Bermuda, and just seeing the level of excitement at that meet usually then gives them, the energy to come back and work towards the next year. For 2 years now, they've been working just with the idea of Carifta being out in the future. And now hopefully this group of 12 will be the group that then excites the group that comes behind them.
Just before I let Jay ask any initial question, I know after the first year, you and I talked about if Carifta was about to happen again, there was some talk of adding an age group just so that those that aged out that year would have that opportunity just for that 1 year. There was no thought of doing that for this year, being that we got it back.
Yeah, so it's actually interesting. There was quite a bit of conversation going on in the background, but what they decided on, because of the long period of time that Carifta has happened, when you make that kind of adjustment, even for 1 year, you're now impacting records, it just makes some changes that you can't go back to. Right. So they just made the decision that this was in the best interest of the competition going forward. there's some things that I'm going to be interested to see. So over the last 2 years, some coaches have now moved on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some coaches lost their jobs in that 2 year period when everything was down. Some of the programs were able to train and continue to build, and some programs kind of fell to the wayside. So, at this point, this is an unknown for everybody what this looks like. But if any indication of the performances that we saw at our last local competition, and if what you've seen from some of the higher level international competition, everybody's ready to go. So we're excited to give these youngsters an opportunity to test themselves against our region so that we can see what the benchmark is.
Sure. Jay, any extra question before we get into?
Yeah, sure, man. Before we get into the actual athletes themselves, the swimmer themselves, obviously, last couple of years has been challenging, not only for you and the local administration, but also all the administrations around the region. I'm pretty sure you guys have collaborated, have numerous Zoom conversations. Name some of the same challenges that all the islands were having at the same time, or because I'm pretty sure you guys had very similar challenges, whether it's restrictions, whether it was training, whether it was access to pools, or even what we were just talking just now with athletes aging out. Name some of the other challenges that all of you guys would have faced.
So one of the major difficulties is that swimming is a sport that is a repetition sport. So it's about, fixing very small details and repeating it over and over again. So what happens is having practice interrupted. We always say that every week of practice, every day of practice is worth two. So now as you go through a period where you're missing practice for a couple of months, that is significant, and you can't just make it up. And the hardest part was you couldn't ramp up right away because now athletes would get injured, and right. So you had to go through that process. Everybody was going through it, but we were going through it at different times, right? Mm-hmm. So what would happen is there was a point where Bermuda was doing really well, and we were excited because we're building our team, and the swimmers are performing well in practice, and we're getting excited what we see. And then you realize, man, if we get an opportunity to race, if this thing goes away, we're going to be ready to swim fast. And lo and behold, it hits us. So now we end up in a situation where we don't have access. And those are the conversations we were having. So everybody was trying to do things to keep their athletes engaged. The biggest problem that has happened across our region is that not only athletes aging out, we've lost some athletes. We've lost some really great potential just because of the interruptions. Every time you go back to the pool from a long layoff, 2 or 3 people are missing. And that's across the region. When you add that up, these are young people that were moving in a positive direction because of sport that we potentially lost. And that's the conversation from a regional coaching perspective. And we're talking about how can we make sure that we kind of reinvigorate everybody and move everybody forward again. So that's where we are right now. I think it's a great opportunity to press reset now.
Definitely. Well, let's get into these swimmers, because obviously you have Bella Howes should be competing in the 15 to 17 age group in 6 different disciplines. Looking at what she's been able to do over the last 3 years, because she went to Carifta in 19, now missed 2 years. Where do you see her in her progress right now?
So her development has been significant. I coach her on a regular basis. I will tell you that Bella has shown the ability, not just in the sprint events, but she actually can carry that on to what I call long sprint, so getting to the 200s of events. She's also able to swim all 4 strokes at a really high level. She's part of the Work Academy high performance program and was able to perform at a really high level when we went to Easterns recently, showing her ability to really attack competition. Like she gets excited at the back end of races where she's trying, if somebody's close to her, that's her opportunity to pounce, right? If she knows that the competition is in line with her, then that's what she goes out and does her best to capture. I think that this is going to be a great opportunity for her. Obviously, it's a step up, it's a significant step up in age group, which will be interesting for her. There's also the fact that we are switching from our short course season to long course, right? So we just finished our last short course competition of the year. This will be our first opportunity to swim long course in this season. But Bella and several of these athletes last year got the opportunity to go to Bahamas Nationals, where they competed there, had an opportunity to kind of meet up with some of their friends from the region and to be able to compete at that level. So really looking forward to what she's going to be able to do in the events that we've entered her in.
Yeah, I see the 200 free along with the 50 back, 50 butterfly, 50 breast, 50 free, and 100 free. You know, looking at her times, where do they match up with you know, just some of those people that would have been in her age group 2 years ago? How do those numbers match up?
So one of the things that I would say as a benchmark for us is to have our females go under 1 minute in the 100 freestyle. And at the last competition that we had locally, we had several of the girls in Bermuda go under a minute. That used to be a benchmark for us to know whether we're going to be able to compete in our region. You know, step one is to be able to get into the final, and then step two is to try to get to the podium. So out of the girls in Bermuda, she put the fastest time out of those hundreds, out of those people that went under a minute. So I think she's set herself up well. She should be confident of what she's able to do. And the big issue that I think is an advantage for her, she's not really the fastest off the blocks. She's also not the fastest on the turns. But when you go to the long course pool, it actually works out for somebody like her because she's not matching up against somebody that's using that spring off the wall to get that advantage on her. So the hope is that this will be a great opportunity for her to make her mark in the region.
Sure. Any quick question on Bella? Okay.
No, I'm just a bystander because it's a new name for me. I'm been a couple of names I recognize. So I'm sitting back. Hey, I get back that I recognize.
All right, let's move to Marley Halls in the women's 13 to 14 age group.
Yeah, so Marley is Bella's little sister. And I'm going to say that because I know it motivates her if I call her the little sister. And anybody that knows if you have a sibling that's in the same sport as you, Marley is always trying to outdo her older sister. So Marley qualified and would have been competing, 2 years ago as an 11 and 12-year-old, and now this is her first opportunity, and she's doing it in the 13, 14 age group. Marley is another person that has been working extremely hard, putting in, the detailed changes to try to get faster. She does have the ability to swim multiple strokes, multiple distances, the same as her sister. And I guess Marley is what we would say when you know somebody has that killer instinct. That's who she is, right? So being that second sibling and having that natural killer instinct, I'm looking forward to see what she does when she starts to hear those Carifta drums in the background.
And I see her competing, as you said, multiple events. So she's in the 50 free, 400 free, 100 free, 200 free, 50 back, 100 butterfly, and 50 butterfly. That going from that 50 free to 400 free. As you can imagine, I mean, for anybody, if you're running the 100, you're trying to run the 400. It's kind of difficult. It takes a very special athlete to be able to balance that out.
That's exactly it. So what I will say about her, and this is what happens in development a lot of times when they're younger athletes, like both of these girls are, you're still figuring out what athlete they're going to be as they develop and progress forward. So showing the ability in multiple strokes, but also being able to compete at multiple distances is what you're looking for, because we are going to train in order for her to be able to swim freestyle all the way up to that 400. But we've been testing her in Bermuda. She's been swimming the 800. just as a way to be able to say, well, if you can swim the 8, you can definitely swim the 4.
Right.
But she's fast enough to compete in the 50 and the 100, right? So well-rounded, because one of the things that I always try to get our athletes to think about is that if you are looking to go to a U.S. university and swim in NCAAs in the future, you want to be a Swiss Army knife, because when a university coach is looking for somebody to pick on their squad, they want to know that today I need a backstroker, you're it. Tomorrow I need a butterfly, you're it. If it's a different distance, doesn't matter, right? So being a one-trick pony doesn't help you when you're trying to get to the point of reaching a scholarship. So having that diversity of stroke and distance is important in our development.
Definitely. Well, we're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to speak more about the Bermuda Carifta Swimming Championship team. We'll be right back.
This month, John Barrett & Son bring us a premium thirst quencher from North Carolina, the Blue Ultra Purified Water. Many other bottled waters use reverse osmosis to reach an acceptable level of purity. The Blue uses a 5-step purification process, which includes fractional vapor compression, distillation, and ozonation, assuring purity and a unique, appealing flavor. Consumer testimony repeatedly praises the taste of Le Bleu compared to the other brands, and this, along with superior purity, makes Le Bleu a must-try. Flynn knows. Why go anyplace else?
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends, and that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
And well, back. Ben, now we take a look at Emmerton Judd, who will also be competing in the women's 13 to 14 age group category. Will compete in 7 events as well.
Yeah, so Imogen is another swimmer that actually has competed for us in the region several times prior to this, and was on the cusp of really having a big breakthrough when we were shut down the first time.
Right.
So it is great to see that she's maintained that training level, the work ethic that it takes for her to break through and be at this top level. Imogen is another person that can swim multiple events, multiple distances, but really seeing what she's been able to do in butterfly and backstroke in this last year, I think we can look forward to some really good performances from her in those 2 disciplines specifically. Just great technique, and with her work ethic, it should be exciting to see what she's able to do in both those events.
And definitely, she's another one of the sprinters that we have.
Yeah, most definitely. So, it's actually interesting. A few years back, there was this big push for, women in sport, but in swimming for us, we have a dynamic group of young ladies that we're looking forward to see what they're able to do against our regional female athletes. They train hard, they're focused, they're disciplined, and they are able to perform under pressure. So we're really looking forward to what they're able to do, and Imogen will be right out front as one of those swimmers.
Okay, and then we move to Arabella, Newport, Derbyshire, in the 11 to 12 women's age group. Looks like she's going to be busy over those days.
She will most definitely be busy. So Arabella is one of the new up and coming swimmers. It's always exciting to see the swimmers that are going for their first time. This will be her first, opportunity to see what Carifta is going to be all about. She has been steadily performing over the years, and even at her young age, she's put in performances across multiple disciplines, multiple strokes, that tells you that she has a really strong future in front of her if she stays on this trajectory. So, yes, she will be busy. It will be important for us to make sure that she gets the right amount of rest and nutrition in between. Getting used to the heat that potentially we'll be dealing with when we're in Barbados. So, this is a learning experience, but I believe that she's the kind of person that will easily step up to the challenge when we get there.
Okay, all right. And then we move on to Maisha Sharif, who represented Bermuda at the Junior Pan Am Games in Colombia late last year. She'll be competing in the women's 15 to 17 age group.
Yeah, so Maisha has been on the scene for a while and steadily improving. So she represented Bermuda in Colombia, and she continues to show her strength in the sprint disciplines, but in multiple strokes. So she has some amazing natural ability, and so far I haven't seen a ceiling for it. Right? She looks like she can continue to flourish, and maybe is just at the beginning stages of what we're going to see from her. She's one of the athletes that would have missed out some of the development and progress by not attending for the last 2 years, but hopefully this is the exact kind of spark that we need to see that next level of results out of Maisha, because she can be a star.
Yeah, just looking at her performances in Colombia, in an environment, unknown territory, I think she rose to the occasion, being one of the youngest people in swimming at the event.
Most definitely, right? So for swimming, normally we don't compete in that age block. It was actually set up more how it is in track and field than it is for swimming. So for her to be one of the youngest athletes there and perform under that pressure, I believe traveling for the first time under COVID restrictions and all the different things that go along with that, she showed what she can do under that kind of pressure. So now, with things settled down significantly more than they were when she traveled to Colombia, I'm hoping that we can see fantastic performances out of her.
Sure. And then we will move on to Violet Smith, who will compete in the women's 11 to 12 age group.
Yeah, so Violet is another one of our new up-and-coming swimmers. You might have remembered her brother was Brett Smith that would have competed for us in the past. So if Brett is any indication of the height that we might see from Violet, we could be really seeing. She's already tall for her age.
Right.
She is presently more of a backstroke specialist. She is dynamic in backstroke. And if you go back through history, when Bermuda's gone to compete at Carifta and CCCAN, backstroke's one of the areas where we have done really well. So we're looking forward to having her specialty match up with, the history of our performance in backstroke, in the hope that maybe she's a breakthrough swimmer. But over the weekend, when we had our recent short course competition championship, you could actually see that she's also starting to break through in those other events. It's what you're hoping for. So backstroke's the starting point, gets the excitement, and now we start to build a well-rounded swimmer. But in her first opportunity, I think she's going to do well.
Well, Jay, we've gone through 6 athletes, and I'm pretty sure, not to put any pressure on them, but I think one of the first things that Ben has always said that you want the athlete to enjoy the experience, but it's getting to the next stage, which will be getting into those finals, is where you want to see the progress and new environment, new surroundings. Some of these that we've named off will be the first time at Carifta. And again, how are you working with these athletes and to ensure that they can adjust to that number one, the atmosphere, number two, the conditions? Are they on sort of a regiment now to take the opportunity to be prepared fully for battle, because it's 2 a day if you make the finals.
Yes.
You do the preliminaries in the morning. If you make the finals, you're back in the evening, and then if your competition stroke is the next day, you're back up in the morning and back in action again. So for some athletes, they actually compete every single day and sometimes twice a day.
So the first thing that I'll tell you is that, a lot of times, especially if a parent's getting their child involved with swimming, they're going to say, well, as they move up, why are we training so much? Right? Well, that's the reason. So we'll have a practice in the morning that will be an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes. We'll have another practice at night. And, they might be doing 5,000 meters in the morning and another 5,000 meters at night. And you go, well, why would they be doing all of that? Well, when we get to the competition, it's actually going to be easy compared to what we've been training. So, and they're used to that morning, nighttime. We also just had a competition, our short course championships, where they got an opportunity morning, night. So they, you have to be able to compete, make the finals in the morning, because it doesn't make sense thinking about the finals. If you're not going to swim fast in the morning, you might not get a shot at the finals. Now you're on the bleachers watching, right? The other advantage that I think we have is that we have some continuity. We have some swimmers that have been around for a while, so they are able to feed off of the athletes that have already performed overseas. And as we connect those dots from the group that we would have had 10 years ago connected to the group that came behind them, that was the one disadvantage of the 2 years, is that a little bit of that connection, it's a possibility of you losing it. But the way these swimmers have been training, the way that they continue to communicate with each other, I don't have any fear that they won't be ready.
Sure. Well, we're going to take another commercial break, but we do have an update from the Devonshire Recreation Club in the Shield Friendship semifinal. PHC are leading 1-0 after 13 minutes with Antoine Russell scoring. But we'll be back more with the Carifta Swimming Championship team. We'll be right back.
The history of everyday use of spices extends back thousands of years into antiquity. Since 1976, the Frontier Natural Foods Co-op has been bringing a wide range of exciting and authentic flavors to the table. A comprehensive range of ancient traditional herbs and spices produced organically and sustainably. The results are good news for the environment and more robust, fragrant essential oils in these natural seasonings. This month, we're featuring Frontier Natural Products, at least 95% organic salt-free lemon pepper. Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends. And that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
And just like that, it's 1-1 at Devon Chirac. Maybe Linda has scored for Deadly Town. But now let's get back into it then. Taylor White will compete in the women's 15 to 17 age group division. And it seems like Taylor's been around for a very long time, but she's only 17.
Yeah, so Taylor will be going to her last Carifta. This will be her last opportunity to compete after missing the last 2 years in this age group. Yeah, Taylor is somebody who has worked extremely hard. She's a medalist at previous Cariftas.
Mm-hmm.
And she's looking to put things together to finish off on a high before she goes off to university next year. So I know that she'll be nervous but excited to be part of Carifta all over again. She's somebody who swims multiple strokes, multiple distances, and will be testing out the event that in swimming we call the 200 cry, which is the 200-meter butterfly.
Right.
Anybody that is swum 25 a fly will know that the 200 fly is like doing an ultra marathon. So, she'll be looking forward to that event on day 3 as an opportunity to really test herself against the regional swimmers.
Okay, all right. And then we'll move on to Brendan Atkins, men's 15 to 17 age group.
So I'm really looking forward to see what Brandon's going to do. Brandon has the prototypical swimmer's physique.
Mm-hmm.
He has grown significantly over the 2 years that we were in COVID.
Right.
So he will not be the same athlete that has traveled before. We will see a completely different swimmer. And after watching his performances at the Short Course Championship, it is very impressive to see the swimmer that he has become and the opportunity that's in front of him to really not just put his stamp on this Carifta, but really maybe a coming out party for what he can be in the future. He has really shown some top level ability, and I'm hoping that he gets some results that will even drive him further once we come back from this Carifta.
Sure. And then we'll move on to Elijah Daley. He's been over in Canada. Just once they got back in the pool, it seemed like he picked up where he left off. Just setting personal bests, breaking records, just hammering it down, and it's amazing how he's been able to do that.
So what I would say about the entire 15 to 17 boys age group, and Elijah's one in that age group, is that a lot of times they all swim the same event, right?
Mm-hmm.
We in our region, we tend to produce a lot of 50 freestyle or 100 freestyler type swimmers. Elijah's not that person. So you see some very big events and multiples of it. He swims multiple strokes. And as you said, in Canada, they had some restrictions that kept them away from the pool for an extended period of time. And I'm looking forward to seeing him. From the first time there was a period where I didn't get to see him, and the next time I saw him, he had grown so significantly. I'm really excited to see what he looks like this time around. But he is somebody who has, once again, you have those older siblings that are in swimming, and he's always been challenging himself to match whatever their performance is.
Right.
Now I think he's reached the point where he may be exceeding their level of swimming. So it's going to be really great to see him. I know that his big sister is actually going to be down there cheering for him, so it'll be great to see her as well.
Pressure on him.
I was just going to say, she's going to put that pressure to make sure that you live up to that Daley name.
And she'll keep reminding him, that's for sure.
That is a fact.
I mean, he like you say, he's multiple. He's doing the 400 and 200 IMs, 200 butterfly, 100 breast, 100 butterfly, 50 back, 50 butterfly, 50 freestyle. if that's not versatile, that I don't know what else is.
He's most definitely versatile, right? So the fact that he can do the 400 IM just tells you that he does all the strokes. And once again, as he's growing and working on technique in multiple strokes, we don't know what he's going to be, right? We still don't know yet. He's still growing into himself. I know he won't be happy that I say this, but when he was 11 and 12 swimmer, he was a little kind of chubby guy, right? And then he has this big growth spurt, and then you start to really see the power coming behind that stroke technique, and always with the mindset to be faster, right? He's the kind of kid that a lot of you say, well, why is he so serious? Well, he's switched on. It's always about, how do I get faster? He's not happy with whatever the result is because he wants more. So it's going to be exciting to see what he does.
Yeah, Jay, that's a familiar name. Any
I
thoughts?
was going to say that. I know this one. No, we've been following the Daleys for a while now, and it's been such a story, just to hear these stories, and it sort of reminds of just watching the Williams story the other day, and to see what the family goes through. And I was going to talk to Ben about that. I mean, we're talking about the individual athletes, but this is a journey not only the athletes, but for also the families, because the families got to get these kids to training. These families, I mean, you can only do so much at the pool, Ben, but what about the nutrition and making sure they get the proper rest? Because if you're talking about having multiple disciplines in a short span of time, you got to do a lot of preparation before you get to Barbados, and it's going to take a lot of family to make
most
that happen.
Definitely. I mean, my goal has always been that you want to get to the point where you keep your athletes in the sport until they can take themselves to the sport, right? But that's a long journey before you get to that point. A lot of these swimmers started when they were 6, 7 years old. Right. So that's mom and dad dropping you off for swimming lessons that then turned into swim club. And at that point, the parents were probably like, oh, it's fun. Right. And then as the practice time increased, and now you have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to drop them off. Now parents are saying, well, maybe I picked the wrong sport. But it is that support. It is that family support. It is the, knowing that that your child has to make decisions between maybe going out socially and not going out socially. And it's that support that happens with the parents that builds that discipline that we need to see when they get to these older age groups. Without that parent support, many of these athletes would not be able to achieve what they can. So, it's always a big thank you to the parents that drive them to practice and make sure that they're getting the food that they need and make sure that they get to bed and get off their cell phones so that they can get some sleep. And then we take that same concept into the competition. So when we travel, we'll be monitoring those same things, making sure they're eating the right foods, drinking enough water, and this is the hardest part when you're at a championship like we'll be going to. Earl talked about it. When we travel, we're gonna get up really early in the morning. We're gonna feed them. We're gonna go to the pool, and we're gonna spend a long time at the pool. And then we're gonna leave. We're gonna feed them, and they're gonna get about an hour's nap, and then we're gonna start it all over again. Right. And with all the awards presentations and everything that goes along with it, you could be 10:30 at night before you're feeding them, so they can get into bed to start it all over the next day. I'm going to tell you, by the time you get to that last day of the competition, there's very little energy left for any of them. They will be completely spent, but hopefully they're doing that with a lot of happiness and accolades for what they were able to achieve.
Jay, part of that is because they're standing and they're not competing, they're cheering, so they're screaming to the top of their lungs, up and down the pool. Whoever's in the water, they will hear them from, where you can go underwater, you'll hear them. They just have so much fun in supporting one another. And I think that's where the team gels the most, that, they want to encourage their fellow person or teammate to do even better than what they've done before. So I just think, watching the videos and all that, and even when you're watching it live, you could hear and you could tell, okay, that's Bermuda over there. That's the Bermuda group. You know what I mean?
Most definitely.
Yeah, that a lot of energy goes into that too.
I'm listening to you guys, and I'm just listening to you guys. I'm thinking this particular sport, swimming, especially when it's talking about competition-wise or leading up to competition, the amount of times these athletes spend together is unreal. Because when you look at other teams, like I said, the sport might be, let's say, for instance, football, you're looking at a 2-hour game, so you might have a morning training session, might be an hour or two, and then something later, and that's basically, everything as a free time. But swimming, it's a long day. You're talking about getting up 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning to be prepared, and might not get back to 10, 11 o'clock at night. And this is over a period of time. The amount of time that these kids are spending time together, I'm pretty sure that these are friendships forever.
And it's interesting you say that, because so they build the friendships locally, and this is the part that has really been lost over the 2-year period. They build friendships when we get there, right? So, all of the swimmers, they'll come back. So on the last day, they'll trade caps, right? So you'll see a Bermuda cap going to somebody from Cayman or Trinidad or Jamaica, and they come back, or they'll switch T-shirts. And they're, now in the world of social media. So now they've been talking to each other the entire time. They've been, keeping tabs on what the other swimmers are doing. And like you said, these are lifelong friendships. They'll be talking to them well into their adulthood. And it's just exciting to know that they can build that camaraderie with other positive people from our region.
Definitely. But we're going to take another commercial break, and when we come back, we'll have more of our Bermuda Carifta Swimming Championship team. We'll be right back.
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends. And that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
Most of us identify pasta with the joys of Italian food, the most popular cuisine on the planet. After all, pasta is the staple food of Italy, where hundreds of varieties are enjoyed daily. While traveling in the Far East, the founder of the Explore Cuisine company was surprised and impressed by the variety of exotic pastas he found, sampled, and enjoyed there, and resolved to bring this knowledge back to enrich the cuisine of the West. This month, we're featuring delicious Explore Cuisine organic mung bean fettuccine and black bean spaghetti. Lindo, why go anyplace else?
And welcome back. Let's continue on. Finn Mosley will represent Bermuda in the men's 15 to 17 age group, and we've seen Finn, be impressive, of late, over in the UK.
Yeah. So Finn is the third son of the Mosley family that were all competitive in swimming, and Finn has really started to show his worth in the last couple of years. And now with the training that he's getting in the UK, we've seen some performances that are really exciting about where he's going to be next. He also was one of the swimmers that competed in Colombia. So he's showed that he can compete well within that level of our region. And now he's going to get the opportunity to come with us and see what he can do at this Carifta. So, Finn has been to other competitions for us prior to the shutdown. And it will be exciting because we haven't seen him compete, for some time now. So it's going to be exciting to see what he does against the competition after a couple of years away from kind of this regional competition.
Yeah. One thing I could say, he's very focused. Seeing him in Colombia, disciplined, sticks to whatever the regimen is. He's going to stick to it. He always wants to improve himself. Just sitting around talking to him, you could tell he's fine-tuned into his performance, his preparation, and I think what you'll get to see hopefully is what we saw, where he pays attention to detail, looking to make sure his starts are on point, making sure he finishes strong, those type of things. The small things, as he would say, the small things are the things that you need to make sure you pay attention to the detail of. And I'm pretty sure as a coach, that's something you harp on a lot.
Yeah, harping on the details. I mean, swimming is a sport where, one slight adjustment can make a huge difference. And, hearing his commitment to the sport, and as I said to you before, when you get to the point where you can make the decision on your own to be part of the sport, it's one thing for mom and dad to drop you off at 5 o'clock in the morning and, because they're committing you to the sport. It's a different thing when you're choosing it as your sport. And that's where Finn is at this point, where he's focused on where he is now, but where he wants to be. So hopefully this is just continuation, moving him towards, being an NCAA swimmer in the future and what that looks like for him. And hopefully just following in the line of swimmers that have been producing at the highest level for several years now. So looking forward to see what he can do. Sure.
Of course, Flynn Watson-Brown in the men's 15 to 17 age group, another one who's been around, seems like he's been around forever, but he's only 15.
Yeah, so because we've heard the Watson-Brown name a lot, right? Because Logan Watson-Brown has been a multiple medalist, right? So we get used to that name, and now, it was him and his twin brother. His twin brother has decided to switch. He now plays football in prep school, and the other one decided that he's going to continue on his swimming career. So for him, it's going to be really interesting for us because he's only been swimming yards over the last year. So we haven't seen any results from him. We don't know what this is going to look like. I hear he's grown significantly since the last time I saw him. I haven't even been able to lay my eyes on him for over a year now. So now, what he's going to be able to do, knowing, once again, you're following in the footsteps of somebody that's been a high performer. You want to make sure that you're carrying that name. And I know that Mom will be in the stands screaming out his name and making sure that he does what he needs to do.
That is for sure. That support is as Jason said, that support there. She was screaming her lungs off for Logan.
Correct.
It's funny you say that him and his twin brother used to battle so much, and then you turn around and one decide, you know what, I'm going to play this other sport, but he's stuck in there. But even though that sibling thing that you want to, I got to try and outdo my sister, I got to try it, that is a little bit of pressure you put on yourself because of that fact.
But it's good pressure, right? It's knowing, that his sister was able to perform really outstanding in our region. And now, here she is at University of Georgia, right? I mean, that's a top 5 swimming university, and obviously every sport. Georgia is an amazing university, but having somebody like that he was able to feed off her for the time that he was practicing with her, following behind her, seeing what she was doing, her commitment to the sport, and now he's following behind her. So let's hope that he's up for the challenge.
Definitely. And then our final swimmer who will represent Bermuda, Sam Williamson. Sam is 17, will compete in the men's 15 to 17 age group. He's been doing well over in the UK as well.
Yeah, so a lot of people would remember Sam's name from previous Cariftas and CCCAN championships. I believe he was actually an age group champion at one of the years that we were there. Sam was a outstanding breaststroke swimmer. That was his claim to fame when he first burst on the scene. But you can see now he's a distance swimmer. He swims the IM. He's what I talked about before, that Swiss Army knife that can do a bunch of things. And he is starting to come into his own again in the UK. So it's going to be really looking forward to see some of these athletes that we don't get to see all the time, that are, overseas training and competing, and now to have them all combined on one team under one kind of the Bermuda banner. Let's see what they're able to do when we get there.
Yeah, definitely. And let's in the wrap up, let's talk a little bit about that, because you have these athletes that they're committed to do well, but as a coach, and you have so many, your attention's got to be on who's up next, who's doing. So how do you balance that out? Because you might have someone who's been really disappointed with their performance that might just need that coach to put their hand on them and say, hey, listen, as long as you've done your best, we're proud. But then you quickly got to go back to who's up next, and how do you do that?
Yeah, so it's one of the reasons that you have to make sure that you have a really good support staff, right? So there will be myself and Shona Palmer as the other coach, and we have Rebecca White as our team manager, because there are all those pieces that have to happen, right? So you have to be watching not just how they perform, but what the body language is after the performance.
Yes.
Right? Because if they didn't perform at the level that they wanted to, and the shoulders drop and the head drops a little bit, somebody's got to be paying attention to that to make sure that we're giving them that support. Because in swimming, they probably have to swim again, in not too long. And what you find is you have 12 swimmers that are individuals in their competition, but it's a team. So now you have to make sure you're keeping the spirit of the entire team up. You can't get too high, you can't get too low. Obviously, good performances build excitement and everybody else gets on board, but it can happen the other way, right? You can have one or two performances that were not what you were expecting in a negative way, and you can easily see the whole team drop their head, right? It's the same as every other sport. It's that energy that builds the success of the team. And it is sometimes you have to take out a little extra time and talk to somebody and kind of re-energize them and re-motivate them to do the next event, because you can make a mistake. I can give you a quick example. We showed up to a Carifta multiple years ago, and Maddie Moore and Jesse Washington in back-to-back events both got disqualified. First day of the competition. Well, we could have easily seen the entire team go in the toilet, because there's tears, right? There's upsetment. You've come there. They were the number one seeds in back-to-back events. They're both supposed to come back with a gold medal, and instead we're going home with nothing from those events because they got disqualified.
Right.
Well, now you have to have the conversation with them. Then you have to have the conversation with the team. You can't let one swim impact the entire competition. And those are just the things that I actually find exciting about coaching, right? It's the personalities, it's talking to people, it's building that relationship to know, what, this person needs a little pep talk and a little boost, and there's others, they don't need any of that. They're ready to go. And you have to know the difference and who needs what and when they need it.
Right. I must make a comment about Shona, as she's calm, that demeanor is something, and you never see her get her feathers ruffled or anything like that. I'm pretty sure she does, but in my dealings with her, she's just that calm, quiet person that just gets along with the business, makes sure that the athletes get what they need, and I think she's the one that kind of makes sure that they stay level at times, because as you've probably seen, an athlete will probably be really, really nervous, and you need that calm talk just prior to your event that, you know, you've done this over and over. You know, you get on the blocks, you do this on a regular basis. No need to overthink this.
You do, and to me, it's a lot of the mental preparation side, right? It's the conversations that you have with them as we get closer to travel. And then when we arrive there, it's that opportunity to sit down with the team and pull them together and let them start to kind of see each other. Because, you know, we just said it. We have athletes that are coming from overseas teams. We have athletes that swim on different club teams. And what you have to do is, we're all going to be wearing the same cap for the same team. We're representing the same country. Everybody's going to be wearing pink shirt. And that's what we need to be about. And I like to build that energy over the weeks as you lead into it, with the hope that it turns into excitement when we get there.
Yeah. Jay?
Yeah, I'm just a bit curious on the location, and have you personally been to where this event can be taking place? And you know, some of the point is that you can help the swimmers, because for some of them it might be the first time.
So I'll tell you what, that is a very interesting question. For some reason, Barbados has won the bid to be the host. It seems like we go to no other country but Barbados. So we went to Barbados for Carifta, we went to Barbados for Sisigan, and then we did it again. And then we had COVID, and now we're going back. So we literally haven't been to any other countries. So for us, we know the facility like the back of our hand. We know where we're going to be. We know what the food's going to be like. The plan, so the way it works is each time we go, there's a binder of all the things that we need to know when we go to a certain location. Well, that binder is well full because we know exactly what's got to happen. So the kids are going to be prepared for that. Barbados is a really good host. They organize the competition really well. They have a really good pool. So I think we'll be looking forward to fast swimming, and really at this point, because of all the challenges that we've had, the success for us will be 12 happy swimmers, 12 people that go there and do their best, and that's all we can ask for. If that turns into some of the results that we've seen in the past, then that's just icing on the top.
Another question for you, like other sports, especially in traveling, what's the climatizing ideal time for swimmers when they get to a new location? How many days prior, or what's ideal?
So a lot of times it's going to depend on the time zone. Yeah. It's going to depend on facility changes for this particular competition. So Barbados always hosts the competition around Easter. So the setup will be that we will travel on the Thursday. Our first full day there will be Good Friday. Mm-hmm. And then the competition will start on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And the reason they do that is because in Barbados, they get Easter Monday off, which means that people that are actually officiating and volunteering for the meet only have to take off one day from work. So we have a pretty good idea of what that setup looks like. Mm-hmm. I think we're going to be set up well, and I know that Barbados will be great hosts.
Good. Yeah. Well, man, we want to wish you and the rest of the team, all the coaches, the managers, the parents, safe travels. What are the conditions for COVID for Barbados currently?
Yeah, so that's obviously the interesting thing with traveling under COVID with teams. So we were a little nervous a few weeks back because their regulations were significantly higher than Bermuda's. Bermuda's was in a much better place, and we have started to see our restrictions move. But luckily, we've also started to see the restrictions in Barbados move. Originally, there were not going to be any spectators. Now they are allowing spectators. So it's, everybody needs to be vaccinated. So our entire team is vaccinated. There'll be some testing protocols for testing for us to travel. And then everyone will get tested on the Friday that we're there. And then there'll be another test on the Monday. They put in some rules where if one person tests positive, that person will be isolated. If 3 people on the team test positive, the whole team has to isolate. So these are just the I guess, the new rules that we have to deal with when you're dealing with sport. And obviously it's not ideal, especially when anybody that tries to travel to Barbados for multiple days will know it's not a cheap experience. So, you're signing up with the risk that you could get all the way down there and a COVID test could change your entire, not only your trip, but the competition side will be out completely. And hopefully we're taking a healthy team away and bringing back a healthy team. That would be one of our major accomplishments.
Yeah. Well, again, we want to wish you all the best. We'll stay in touch with the progress of this team, preparations and competition. So again, we want to wish you all the best representing Bermuda with the 12 swimmers, coaches, parents, support staff, everyone. And with that, we do have an update halftime. It is PHC 2, Dandytown 1, PHC scoring on the stroke of halftime. And I know Ben's smiling because it's a PHC supporter, I think.
So I'd just like to quickly thank both of you for giving me the opportunity to highlight the swimmers. And let's hope that once we start to rebuild everything, that we can get Earl down at Carifta Swimming so that we can highlight to the community what Carifta Swimming looks like. Because I think people would be shocked of what it is. You can come to a swim meet in Bermuda. That's not what Carifta Swimming is. It is an event that you cannot explain. I've traveled all over the world for swimming, and once you see Carifta Swimming, you're like, I want to go back. It's not a swim meet. It's an event.
Yeah. And we talk about that a lot, Jay, making sure some of our sporting competitions are events, and that's what they are. They're events. We need to start looking at that, and that would actually improve participation, spectators. It would improve so much. If you take it out of just the sport, you make it an event. I think that's where I think that. So
I know Jason will appreciate this. So they hire a DJ, right? So right. So what happens is, you're announcing what's happening for each event, but each event has its own music. Like it creates this atmosphere, and in between, then you have all of the parents up in the stands beating pots and pans, and it is just electric. So I know the kids that haven't been before. I told all the parents, make sure you have your
earplugs,
because you're going to be sitting next to those people, and they are not going to. Sometimes Bermudians act a little conservative. No. The party's on.
The program. Exactly. All right, man. Thank you very much. You have a good night.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
With another edition of the Island Sports Show. Enjoy your night.